Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back. Anastasia, Cosmic Astrologer, wanting to talk about the new moon in Taurus. Apologies for the late upload. April has been an incredibly intense month for me personally. I don't know how it's been for you guys, but it's been very intense for me for a number of different personal reasons. And quite apart from that, I've been very, very busy trying to catch up with clients' readings, etc. So I wasn't even going to do a video. I was going to do an audio, but I decided to do a video. I'm not going to make this very long. However, what I would like to bring is something just a little bit different to what's out there regarding this new moon in Taurus, and I'm hoping to do that for you guys. So the first thing is this, that when we are working with astrology, looking at the birth chart, trying to understand it, I work very much from the evolutionary astrology level and also the esoteric level as well. And those two really complement each other because essentially both those streams are really about the soul, the soul's path, the soul's evolution, and also really about merging the personality and the soul so that there is unison rather than discord. So this new moon in Taurus, I'm going to be approaching it from that level. So I'm just going to share with you just a few different insights on perhaps how to look at this new moon in Taurus. I will bring it in from an exoteric level as well, just a few points, and just a few points from an esoteric level. And, you know, whatever you wish to work with, that's entirely up to you. But I think, you know, for those of you that are on the path, it's a funny expression, that one, because it almost implies that there's only one path, and that's absolutely not true. The quote by Krishnamurti, who's an old Indian guru, philosopher type of figure, said in one of his public presentations, he said that truth is a pathless land. And I find that particular quote to be incredibly powerful, because that really speaks to the fact that, yes, every single person is evolving, but the path that you are evolving on and the path that I'm evolving on is going to be very different. It's an incredibly unique experience for every single soul. That's why there is no one single path. Hence, truth is a pathless land, right? However, having said all of that, when you are on your own path of truth, whatever that is for you, whatever that looks like for you, my understanding is that when we're on a truth-seeking path, we are conscious in certain ways about our life, about our soul's purpose and path, and what we are trying to wake up to as well. And waking up is a really good word for this new moon as well, because this new moon in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus is trailing behind it. So today, when the moon went into Taurus, today for me is the 4th of May, by the way, and it's still not a new moon yet. It won't be until tomorrow, actually. So the dark phase of the moon, which is when the moon enters into Taurus, the sun and the moon are both in Taurus right now as I speak at 4:06 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on the 4th of May 2019. However, that sun-moon both in Taurus is at its dark phase, right? It's the balsamic phase. It's the last phase. And the moon is going to essentially catch up to the exact degree of the sun tomorrow, being the 5th of May, which will then it will become a new moon. But while it enters Taurus today, it forms a conjunction to Uranus. So it carries that energy with it, and it takes it into this new moon that we're going to experience. So the Uranus energy is very, very important. This is the first new moon in Taurus for this year. And, you know, last year, for instance, we didn't have a new moon in Taurus with Uranus in Taurus. So this is really quite a new energy for all of us. And this new moon, I think, is very, very important for that reason, in terms of leading the path and planting the seeds of really what's to culminate over a long period of time. But this is kind of the beginning, the germinating sort of process with this new moon. So what I might do is just share my screen and just bring up the chart. So here is the chart of the new moon. Once again, don't worry about its location. I've just done it for Melbourne, Australia. So naturally it's going to be different to your location. In addition to that, what you really want to be paying attention to is what house in your birth chart does this new moon land in? Because it is that area of life that's really going to be influenced by this new moon. And also, when I say influence, it's also up to you in terms of what you initiate, what you plant, what you put forward, what you wish to begin, because a new moon is always about new beginnings. So pay attention to the location of where the new moon falls in your own chart, obviously. Now, we've got a lot of energy here in Taurus and Aries, okay? So we have Chiron, Vesta, Venus and Mercury all in Aries. And then we have Uranus, the Sun, the Moon, and Vulcan. And I am going to speak about Vulcan, which is why I've mentioned his name now. So there's a lot of planetary energy in these baby signs, the very early signs, Aries and Taurus. Now, Aries and Taurus are really signs about desires. Those archetypes connect very much to our own personal desires. You know, Aries is the personal desire to be, to express, to assert, to take charge, and can be very selfish and self-centered, as we know, and very pushy. But it can also be incredibly brave, courageous, and risk-taking, and step into things, initiate things that perhaps you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. But the Aries energy does provoke that. It does promote that. It does highlight that. We did have a Venus-Chiron conjunction not very long ago, in the last week or so, and I think that brought up some very important relationship issues for people. There was great opportunity there for a lot of healing to occur. And certainly there's the flip side to that coin. There's always the potential there for relationships or people in relationships to experience some sense of wounding in some kind of way. And that could just be somebody saying something to you on that day that just triggers something quite deep inside you. So the comment that somebody made is just the catalyst, you could say, for something that's lying quite deep within you anyway. So we have this Aries energy, which is about personal desires, personal expression, self-expression, the will to initiate. And we have this Taurus energy over here with the new moon, which is all about desires again, but just on a different level, because we're talking about Taurus. And Taurus is very much about the physical, sensual, sexual desires. Okay, so what I want to suggest is this. This new moon being in Taurus, conjunct Vulcan, and with the Uranus energy trailing behind it, one way of understanding this would be, first of all, to recognize that Uranus in Taurus is going to be a big deal for this world, for the state of the world as we see it today. The last time Uranus was in Taurus was, 83, 84 years ago. It was a long time ago. So Uranus in Taurus, this cycle taking us through for the next 8 years, is going to change so much in our personal lives and on this earth plane in terms of the material world, literally. Taurus rules money, it rules the land, it rules banks, all those sorts of things. So those elements of life are going to be really shocked, shaken up. That's what Uranus does. Uranus essentially tries to free and liberate the path that one is on, right? Free you from the path, rather. Or perhaps a better way of putting it would be to say to free you from attachments. Because, see, Taurus is the most fixed of fixed signs. The fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Taurus is the most fixed out of those signs, hence why Taurians are often accused of being stubborn, because it is the most fixed of fixed nature. Taurus does not easily adjust itself when you're talking about the physical senses and the material plane. Huge attachment issues when it comes to Taurus. Taurus, mainly, the archetype is mainly on a personality, let me just be clear, on a personality exoteric level, Taurus is seeking security, first and foremost. That's it. Everything else comes second, including people. So Taurus at that personality level is all about money, food, sex, security through those experiences. That's not a bad or a wrong thing. It's just the nature of that archetype. So the reason I'm explaining these basic characteristics of Taurus is because if we stay at the personality level with this new moon, where I think we are likely to experience some disruptions in perhaps what we're trying to hang on to. So, and that's because of Uranus. So this new moon in Taurus, carrying the energy of Uranus, is really an opportunity to start to really connect to that Uranus in Taurus energy, so that we can actually find a way to start transmuting, transforming our attachments. The Buddhists say that the greatest source of suffering for any human being is the fact that they have attachments. So the experience of attachment is purely connected to the sign of Taurus. We're all attached to something, there's no question about that. But the issue of attachment here, with Uranus energy and Vulcan right there as well, is really saying that we have an opportunity here to begin a new cycle for this month, which can carry through because it can connect us to that Uranus in Taurus energy, where we can start to release and relinquish perhaps certain attachments that have kept us very stuck. You see, a lot of the problems when it comes to the personality and the soul not being in unison is that the personality has these incredible attachments. And when you're talking about the fixed signs especially, a soul can incarnate where they have a lot of the fixed energy, the fixed signs represented very strongly in their chart. So the fixed cross, for example, which is something that's spoken about in esoteric astrology, the fixed cross is a very, very difficult incarnation to be born into. Fixed energy is very difficult because it can keep the soul very stuck in pre-existing memories and habits and patterns, and that can be incredibly difficult to let go and release because we're talking about a fixed energy, a fixed nature. It's called fixed because it stays with something. Now, on a positive level or a higher level, the fixed energy of Taurus, for instance, has the ability to transform and transmute. And part of that reason is because Scorpio sits right opposite Taurus. So at the most basic exoteric level, Taurus may be about the material world and the material gain that the personality and the ego desires for. But at the esoteric soul spiritual level, Taurus is an incredibly spiritual sign. It has the capacity to transmute and transform. Part of that reason is because Vulcan that you see, which is that red arrow right next to that new moon in this chart, Vulcan is actually the esoteric ruler of Taurus. So when you go to esoteric astrology and you're looking at what planets rule the 12 zodiac signs, what you will see is that Vulcan is the ruler of Taurus, which sounds bizarre if you don't know anything about Vulcan, but just very briefly, Vulcan's energy is the energy of the alchemist. It's the energy that when we are tuned into it, we can basically become our own inner alchemist and go in and transform. Obviously not overnight. The alchemist being Vulcan, if you read into the myth of Vulcan, he was this figure who on the physical level was really very unattractive, apparently. He just had this awkward sort of persona. He didn't have any aesthetics going on at all. And that's an important point, even though it may sound superficial to you, because he wasn't interested in the Taurus, the Taurus part of beauty, right? Because Taurus is about beauty, because its exoteric ruler is Venus. So Vulcan is the energy that chips away, right? Layer by layer by layer by layer, and transmutes these different levels within us that are basically connected to attachments that we have. Now, attachments we have are not only connected to this life and this incarnation, we have many attachments that are part of our ego structure, which belong to past lives, many, many different attachments. And for the most part, we're all unconscious about it. However, what happens is these attachments, these ego attachments, play out again in the current life in a way, how can I say this? They come through again because they are still an attachment. The ego is still hanging on to them, right? So there's something within the soul's intention and evolution this lifetime to try and work through those attachments, for instance. So Vulcan, being the esoteric ruler of Taurus, and also, and Taurus connects to ray number 4, by the way. And ray number 4 in esoteric astrology is, the key phrase to it is harmony through conflict, which sounds really bizarre, but once you explore ray 4, you get a feel for it, you understand why it's called harmony through conflict. And in esoteric astrology, it is also understood that the ray that governs the earth plane right now is this ray number 4, which is harmony through conflict, which is why we see so much conflict in this world, because we are governed by this ray number 4. But ray number 4 also has, so each ray has 3 zodiac signs connected to it. Ray number 4 has the sign of Taurus connected to it. And part of the reason ray number 4, quite apart from it being conflict, it's also the energy of the artist, the absolute brilliant artist, right? Now, when I say art, it doesn't necessarily have to be the medium of drawing and paint and color, although that is probably the biggest portion of it, because it's really about the appreciation and connection and divine infusion of the absolute core of art through divine channeling. That's what ray number 4 is really connected to. So people who have strong ray 4 in them will frequently be some kind of artist. That's what it shows very strongly. On the other hand, they can have extreme internal conflict within them throughout their lives, and particularly in relationships. So this new moon in Taurus holds that vibration of ray number 4 to begin with, which means that on an esoteric level, we are dealing with, let me be clear, the conflict that frequently comes up for ray number 4, which connects to Taurus, is the necessary conflict that we need to face in life, but we avoid. And by avoiding it, we obviously we don't evolve, because we're just holding on attachment, Taurus attachment, holding on. But the very thing we need to do is confront the conflict in order to transmute the energy to evolve in some kind of way. So this new moon holds ray 4, which is the potential conflict presenting in your life. Perhaps if you are more so a person who's really working from the soul esoteric level, in your life on a day-to-day basis, consciously working on that path, on that level. So this is an opportunity to confront and face and potentially achieve some resolution through this experience of the new moon, because it connects to ray 4 from that level. The other level is Vulcan being the ruler of Taurus. Vulcan connects to ray number 1, which is the ray of will, divine will at the highest possible level, right? The rays will operate either through the soul or the personality. All the rays, there are 7 of them. All 7 of them can operate through the personality or through the soul, okay? So ray number 1 at the soul level, the esoteric level, is the divine will coming through to enable one to transform, totally transform. So Vulcan and Pluto are the planets that connect to ray number 1. So Vulcan is present here with this new moon, implying that there is tremendous will that one can employ to relinquish themselves from deep attachments. So the beginning of this cycle can be something that you focus on, for instance, and particularly paying attention to where this new moon lands in your birth chart, because that area of your chart, you can start to understand that this energy, this new moon with Vulcan, Uranus, Taurus, ray number 4, can all be utilized in this higher level, esoteric level, where you can basically transmute, smash through some pretty deep attachments. If it's the 12th house, it's going to be a little bit complex. I totally get that. But I'm not going to unpack what this energy will be in every single house, because it'll be a 2-hour long video. And I just really wanted to introduce this idea to you guys. For those of you that are interested, people that are not working on this level won't necessarily be interested. That's okay. Whoever this reaches and touches, then it's for you. But I really was reflecting on this new moon energy the last few days, and I really started reflecting on these points that I've shared with you guys today, and it just felt important for me to actually bring this and speak about it. So that's all I have to say about this new moon, and that's a lot actually, because that's a lot to consider when it comes to your own chart. And if you feel a little bit lost with the ray and the Vulcan and the ray 4 and the ray 1 and all of that, don't worry about that, because you don't need to understand that to understand my message, because my message is simply this. This new moon is so incredibly powerful when it comes to consciously focusing on and releasing very deep attachments. And see, this new moon as well, it's not a normal new moon in Taurus, because Uranus trailing behind it. So it's the more we sort of become greedy, if you like, because Taurus can be very, very greedy. It just wants more and more and more. Taurus is a sign of accumulation. when you see hoarders, for example, frequently they'll have strong Taurus in their chart. That's not a judgment. That's just an observation of certain behaviors that people carry, okay? So Taurus is the archetype of deep attachment and desires on those levels. And a lot of attachments that we have bring us great suffering, some of which we are aware of, and many others that we are unconscious about. So just take advantage of this new moon, knowing that Vulcan, which connects to ray number 1, which is divine will to transform and transmute and release attachments, Taurus. Uranus in this picture will liberate you. It will bring an experience of releasing you from the chains of things that hold you back and keep you stuck, because Taurus can be really, really stuck, even if the situation is so harmful or so toxic or unhealthy. It can just be so stuck and find it very difficult to move. Now, this new moon with Uranus there and Vulcan there, things are going to move. But of course, you need to make the necessary and the appropriate conscious choices and decisions around that. And that's going to be a very different experience for all of you. So I will leave it there for today. And I just wanted to do a quick video on the new moon from an esoteric level primarily. And I'll be back soon with possibly a further update on the coming transits for the rest of the month. I just need to find some time to sit down and do it. Thanks so much for your comments and questions, and beautiful compliments as well. Appreciation. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed and you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Feel free to share my videos. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Much love and blessings. Thank you. Bye.